The idea was simple. To investigate the topic of diversity in London, we invited 4 people, each from a very different background, to take us to a restaurant of their choice, representative of their culture.
Hi, I'm Kiran Kashyap, and I'm from India.
My name is Xiaoxue. I came from China.
So my name is Jasmine. I'm from Mexico.
My name is Michał Wojtylak and I'm from Poland.
We know who our participants are and where they came from. But what exactly brought them to London?
School, of course.
I'm here for London because I applied UCL master degree and I got this offer.
First off and foremost, I came to London to study, but also I've only gone to Mexico and the US, so I've never been out of the country before. I just really wanted to experience something new when it comes to the diversity.
Ever since I was a child, I was just fascinated by the London architecture. The fact that you have a building that's 1,000 years old and then a building that's 10 years old right next to each other, it's just mind-blowing. The history of the place and sort of the diversity, the people, the culture, it's just incredible. Then I had the opportunity to come study here. So I'm a study away student. I'm studying here for a year. And I immediately jumped at that opportunity to be able to call the British Museum, to be able to call a Big Ben, all of this, to be able to say that all of this was in my backyard. It's just truly fascinating. London is so close to a lot of different European countries, Spain, Germany, and so you get these opportunities to travel more than you will ever in your entire life. This is something that I'm really, taking a hold of, grabbing this opportunity and making the most that I can.
Now, what is their reality in their home countries?
So I live in a small town in Poland. It's about 7,000 inhabitants at this time.
I live in a small city.
How many people?
5 million people.
Originally I'm from the States, so Georgia. So Georgia's kind of boring, so I'll just talk about Mexico instead. And where I'm from, it's like a village, so everybody is very tight-knit. Every single time I go to Mexico, everybody always recognizes me, oh my god, hey, you're back. So it's very tight-knit, and it's a really nice community because everybody knows my grandma back home. She's a really big provider, so she sells milk and she also makes queso. She makes different types of cheeses and stuff.
I was born and raised for the first 5 years of my life in Atlanta, Georgia. After those first 5 years, I moved to North India, New Delhi, and I lived there for another 7 years. Then I moved back to Georgia and I finished out my high school. However, my parents are initially from South India, so Tamil Nadu. So I've got a mix of things going on.
When I came here for the first time a couple months ago, I came to see an entirely different situation than what I'm used to. It is very busy. It is packed with people. I live in Camden Town, so it is always very vibrant, very loud, and there's a lot of people of different cultures, whereas Poland is almost 100% Poles.
A huge difference between my hometown and here. Compared to China, my hometown is actually a small city, and it's not really famous than Peking or Shanghai. The UK is surrounded by the sea, but my hometown is like the center of the mainland, which is far away from the sea. Some similarities between these cities. In London, there has Chinatown, which is similar to our city.
It's very city-like, so very big difference from coming from a village. Even if you go to Mexico, the nearest thing you'll find to a city is Mexico City, and even then it's not really on par when it comes to London.
Today we are at an allegedly Polish restaurant. There is not many of them. We are going to be testing Polish food and seeing if it actually is representative of Polish cuisine. As my friends in other places do, we shall see if it's true to its origin.
So for today, I ordered the 2 flavor seasons hot pot, and I ordered some food to put into the hot pot.
All right, so this right here is called a dosa. It's one of the most traditional foods from South India. I mean, back at home, I would eat one every 3 days. Surprisingly, not that many people know about this. Most of the Indian food that a lot of people have been exposed to is usually North Indian food. Butter chicken, chicken tikka, naan, all these really popular things you'll see on the streets of London. But it's sort of like a lentil crepe with ghee. Ghee is a saturated butter. And inside, if you see, I'll rip this up. This is called a masala dosa. So you'll see that there's sort of like a potato fry in here. So the way that you eat this is you kind of just rip a piece, you dip it in this soup. It's called sambar. And then you just enjoy it. It's delicious. I could eat 3, I could eat 4, I could eat 5.
For me, there is some Polish bigos, which is a cabbage stew with some meat. It's nicely fried, and we'll see if it tastes anything like home. I also got this here, modest plate of pork-filled pierogi.
This one is beef strip. It's kind of part of beef stomach. This one is just a tofu skin. It's similar stuff as a tofu, but tastes really different. It tastes more raw than tofu. And this one is also made by tofu, but I don't know how to describe this. But it tastes more slushy.
I ordered a quesadilla, which reminds me a lot of like back home, because the easiest thing to make back in Mexico is literally a quesadilla, because you just put the cheese and the tortilla and then that's it.
The specific part about Polish cuisine is that it's supposed to be made cheap. Polish people had to struggle with supply shortages all throughout. So the idea was to work with a lot of potatoes, work with a lot of cabbage, work with very little meat to minimize your spending. The London iteration of this retains the magnificent taste while flipping on its head the concept about prices. That being said, our food today is quite alright.
The food was delicious. Probably the best part is because this is a meal that I used to eat so much at home, it really feels like I'm back at home again when I'm eating this dosa, when I'm eating this sambar, and when I'm eating the chutney. There's nothing better than drinking a warm cup of sambar. It's like a soup, a warm cup of sambar on a cold winter day, and that's exactly what this feels like. Anybody who wants to try South Indian food, come here, have a dosa, and it's delicious.
The food is fine. It's not like, I've kind of lowered my expectations when it comes to food here. If I can eat it, I can eat it, but it's not something that I'm like, wow, this is like really authentic Mexican food. Like most places that say that, I've never like really been like, this is really authentic. Like they always have weird stuff on the menu or stuff that I've never even heard about, or they always add something that I've never seen in my culture or like added to their foods.
Having tasted the diverse range of food, it was now time to head out.
So we are out of the Haidilao restaurant right now, and I'm really happy to eat here. It's make me feel like home.
Thank you so much for joining me at this diverse Indian experience, South Indian particularly. On to the next one.
We leave this place with mixed feelings. Now, the food does feel at home. The prices are absolutely horrendous.
So we just finished eating at Oaxaca. I finished eating a quesadilla, which wasn't really authentic, but I still enjoyed it and it was still pretty good. And thank you for being with us.